Hi everybody, Grandpa Ron here again. Gonna put some batteries in this little toy mine. I've got little things I've collected up on the shelf. I thought I'd tell you about some of them. This one I've got to put batteries in. But as I do this, we can chat here a little bit. I had a supervisor that whenever you'd go to him with a problem or an issue, he'd start bouncing off the walls. We called it ricochet. He'd bounce off the walls all the time. It didn't matter what the issue was. Just the fact that you walked in the office meant there was something that he was going to have to deal with. So he'd start bouncing off the wall. And so later on, when I got into supervision, I vowed to myself that I wasn't going to do that. But you know, we're all human, and even though there are things we don't want to do, sometimes you know, we mess up and do them. But I think most of my career, I avoided that. I had another boss that was just the opposite. You could walk into his office with something you thought was a real issue, you know, that you didn't know how to handle. And you thought, boy, I hate going in here with this, because it's going to be a hassle. But that supervisor, he'd take everything real calmly. He'd sit there and listen to you explain what was going on and help you figure out a solution. There was no ranting, no ricocheting off the walls. It was just a mature discussion of the issues and then sorted out. That doesn't mean that there was never any consequences. If you messed up, you had to, you know, face the music, pay the consequences, but that's the right thing to do. I remember I had a supervisor that I had been working for about 7 years for this supervisor. And we did shift work, rotating shifts. So it was kind of a stress on the body, and you were having to, every 2 weeks we'd change, so you had to get up at different times and all that. And been working 7 years, never been late for work, a single day. And one day, for some reason, I didn't hear that alarm clock, and I overslept. And I got a call about 5 minutes after I was supposed to be at work. And where are you? And oh my gosh, I overslept. So I quick shaved. I was only about 5 minutes from the office. So I got there maybe 30 or 40 minutes late. And keeping in mind, I hadn't been late for 7 years. And I was docked for that time that I missed. And it kind of bothered me that, you know, gee, you know, it seemed like they cut you a little slack, you know, being on time for every day for 7 years, and then you're only 30 or 40 minutes late one time. But years later, I realized that he did absolutely the right thing, because once you start fudging on the rules, you're down a slippery slope. Yeah, there's always employees that you like that do a great job for you. And from time to time, you know, you'd like to help them out and do something special for them. But it should never involve breaking the rules. Got to stay within the rules. Because if he had let me slide on being late that day, even though I considered myself a good employee, then he would have to show that same consideration for every slug, deadbeat jerk he had on his shift, because they would all know what he had done and they would all demand the same kind of treatment. So by sticking with the rules and playing it by the book, all that's avoided. And if he wanted to help me out in some way, then there was, ways he could do that. Letters of commendation or something like that. But don't ever fudge the rules, whether you're in government service or in the public sector. If you do somebody a favor because they're a good employee, you better expect that every other employee you have is going to expect that same favor, whether they merit it or not. But anyway, back to Ricochet. I found this police car, and I'd have people come into my office and they'd think they had just an awful problem, And I didn't want to downplay their problem. I didn't want to make light of it. I didn't want to make them think that it wasn't important. But I wanted to break the ice, and so I'd pull out my car.
Trouble downtown. Car 8 on the way.
And it was kind of my way of saying, okay, we got a problem, but we're on the way. We're going to handle it. And we'd sit down and talk through the issue and come up with a solution. And you always wanted it to be a learning experience for the individual, but it's a key factor in delegating responsibilities and authority. I had positions where there was no way I could handle everything that I was responsible for in my position. So out of necessity, I would delegate responsibilities and jobs and chores to different people. And of course you have to delegate the authority, for them to act, to fulfill their responsibilities. But what a lot of supervisors do is they're good at delegating the responsibility and authority, but they want it done exactly the way they would do it. And if you mess up, if you make a mistake, they will do like Ricochet and bounce off the walls and chew you out for it. And of course, that's a disincentive for you to do any more. If every time I'm going to mess up, I'm going to get chewed out, well, I'm going to avoid that. I'm not going to do anything that I could possibly mess up on. So as a manager, when you delegate authority and responsibility, you need to hold people accountable, but you need to do it in a way that's constructive. Don't bite their head off and chew them out. But sit down and try to figure out a way to work through it. Now, that makes you vulnerable in that, people could attempt to take advantage of that. Oh, he's a nice guy, he won't care. So you do have to hold people responsible, but you have to do it in a good way. In a good way. And what I found is if you treat people like mature adults, they will do their best and they will try to learn from the experience and go on and improve and do better. One thing that you want to avoid is a term that I've heard before called upward-delegation. That's where if you choose somebody out enough times, or even if they're a less than motivated employee and you delegate something to them, sometimes they will try to delegate that back up to you. Well, I don't know how to do that, or gee, this came up, what should I do now? And they will try to get you to do the very thing that you had delegated to them to do. So when you delegate things to folks, you need to make clear what their duties are, what their responsibility is. You need to train them, if necessary, in what they're going to do. You need to provide them guidance up front, whether it be a manual or a list of frequently encountered situations or something, and generally accepted ways to handle that. But you need to provide the clear-cut designation of responsibility. What is it they're responsible to do? Give them the training to do it if necessary, but then make them realize that they have to do that. They can't delegate it back up to you. There's always going to be times when people encounter things they can't handle, though, so you have to be ready as a manager to step in and let them know.
Trouble downtown. Car 8 on the way.
That you can help. You're on the way and you can help. I know I may have talked a little bit in a circle there, but I hope that if you're in a manager position or supervisory position, that this little discussion might help you a little bit. My car does a few more things. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you learn a little bit from it. If you're in a management position, that you'll take some of the comments to heart. If you've got a manager that is ricochet, all I can say is you stay cool. Don't let their anxiety spill over onto you. Just do the best job you can. Be the good servant. Do the best job you can, and God will reward that down the road. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.